Hey, happy Friday and welcome to our weekly, actually bi-weekly because we rock this on Mondays as well. Welcome to the LinkedIn live stream. I'm joined by Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm good, Rick. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It has been a busy week around
Very
the
busy,
world.
yes.
I'm sure everybody can feel it. We're fresh off of Veeam Live and there's so much going on in technology and other things too. But we've got a topic today that's near and dear to your heart, disaster recovery and Veeam Availability Orchestrator.
Yeah, disaster recovery. I mean, it's 2020. We all know about disasters, right? So I figured Jason Buffington and I had been on a Monday episode over the summer talking about kind of some DR best practices and stuff like that. So I wanted to come back and maybe go a little more into the weeds, show you a little bit demo, and talk about the Veeam Availability Orchestrator product and what it can actually do.
You had me at demo, and that's going to be the
Of course I
topic
did.
today. So again, welcome to the LinkedIn live stream. If you're just getting started, we want to interact with you. So on the chat, we've got Christian and a couple others from our marketing team. Go ahead and drop a note of where you're from. We're going to give you a shout out on the map. We got this little fancy map. Oh, we've already got, let's see, we've got Spain. Bienvenidos esta noche. Gracias por su atención esta noche. Okay, how about me now? And then we got Argentina. Now, it's actually going to be interesting to see if I can get my map and countries right because we don't actually get the cues. But drop in your maybe your state or your cities, etc. And we're going to rock.
We'll see you on the map.
Yeah, so we've got some stuff prepared here for you. So let's jump on into it over here in PowerPoint town. So Veeam Availability Orchestrator is our product, but Melissa, tell me about the current state of DR.
Well, let's face it, if we've learned nothing from this year, it's that disasters happen, right? When you have your data center in flames or underwater or being eaten by zombies, who knows, right? It is 2020. The fact is that it is not, in fact, fine, and you better have a plan to quickly and easily recover.
Yeah, I think this can be said a number of different ways, right? That you've ever heard the phrase the elephant in the room or the topic that isn't getting talked about, And Melissa and I have a cheeky little time with this one because this particular diagram, we've even given this lady in the screen a name. We'll just call her Michelle, all right? But you can really unpack a lot in this graphic, Melissa. You've got, I love the books, the run books, the servers on the desk, et cetera. But, a lot of organizations, the state of DR is a kind of a hybrid love child of manual, automated, documented, and forgotten processes. Is that fairly
that's
accurate?
fair to say. And there's a lot of problems with that. I mean, we have the run books on fire in this picture, right? So what happens if your run books go up in flames? There's a lot of things that can go wrong and will go wrong should some sort of disaster happen. And it takes a lot of time and effort to make sure you have all those very manual broken pieces stitched together. And the fact of the matter is there really is a better way to do this.
Indeed. And, the silver lining here is this is one way to keep your coffee warm. So
it is. Coffee's very warm.
Very warm there. But, these disasters come a number of different ways. It's more than just fire, flood, and blood nowadays. But, what kind of assessment do we have on why people would call disaster any day?
It could be anything. We have kind of the traditional fire, flood, storm, alien invasion. It could be more of a planned disaster, right? Hey, I need to do emergency maintenance on my generators on this site, and I need to fail over to my second site while I do that maintenance. It really could be any reason. I know Danny's like to kind of tell the storm of, hey, we can see the hurricane coming, so let's just proactively fail over to a site where we know we won't be impacted by that natural disaster, right? So it even could be a matter of calling it before it happens, which is really kind of the best place to be in, isn't it? To be able to be so flexible that I can say, I'm going to fail over just in case there's a disaster. I'm not even going to wait for everything to break. And this statistic is really interesting that came from a report. 82% of businesses do not feel prepared to recover their data center in the event of disaster. Isn't that kind of scary?
I mean, that's a huge gap. I mean, if you think about what type of organization has done the work to prepare for DR, whatever these 6 items could be, or more, right? Ransomware could be one. Oh, I guess we put that in malware, right? But whatever the disaster is, this survey indicated only 18% have done the work to do that. And to be able to confidently know that it works and have a good understanding of the time, that's actually really, really impactful.
It is really important.
I've talked to some organizations who have proactively failed over because they've done the work, and it's a great ability to sleep at night, really. I mean, I think that, I look at these problems and, really each of these could happen nowadays. Here in the U.S., we've had a lot of fires out in California. In fact, I know an individual who lost their home, and this can happen to data centers too. So these threats are real, and hardware failure is actually one that we take for granted nowadays. I live in a world of backup and recovery and disaster replication and failover, right? So I kind of glaze over that, but I have nothing but evidence in the form of case studies at Veeam.com that bad things happen to good hardware, So the thought is this is a real problem today.
I had a customer once where they had water pipes through the ceiling in their data center. Why? I don't know. But it had burst all over their brand new storage arrays. So those storage arrays that they had just put in and cut over to, guess what?
Totally covered under warranty, right?
It was. Yes,
oh, really?
It was covered under warranty. Wow. They were taken care of. But the fact of the matter was that they were not expecting to just lose a whole rack of storage, right? Because a pipe burst in the ceiling. Why there was a pipe in the ceiling in the data center is another story, but things happen.
It came with the house. I've heard that.
It came with the house. Yeah, it was that way when we got here.
Indeed. So yeah, again, for those of you joining, we've got a great crowd on. Use the chat and drop your location in on the chat here, and we're going to take a look at the map. Wow, we've got North Carolina, Turkey, Calgary up in Canada. I just went to Tim's, got my cup right there. UAE, Iran, Quebec, Sri Lanka, UK, Ecuador. Wow, Texas, Nicaragua, Sweden, Miami. Wow, Atlanta. This is a great crowd. Thanks for letting us know. We really appreciate you joining here today, and we're going to come back to the map here in a little bit. But what we'll do now is talk a little bit about some of the environmental and planning conditions.
So why is this so hard, right? If 82% of businesses don't feel ready to recover, why is it? Our environments are getting bigger, right? When we talk about a VMware environment, let's talk about virtual sprawl. People just deploy stuff left and right. They never decommission stuff. An app that's been sitting in a VM for 5 or 10 years might actually still be running an application because, hey, it works and the hardware never went out of warranty, so we're not going to touch this because we don't want to break it. More complex, applications are getting more complex, right? It's just the state of the union pretty much. So you have these complex applications people are deploying, and then they want to protect them at the application level, but there's so many different components, right? What's the easy way to do that? It's kind of the pets versus cattle thing, right? We always talk about this. Are our VMs pets? Or are they cattle? What are they? And we have to protect them in different ways based on what they are. And then it changes rapidly. I can go and deploy a bunch of stuff in vSphere right now. So I've deployed 10 new VMs to my application because my capacity has gone through the roof. I need more power. I deploy those VMs, but what happens to them, right? How do I get them into my DR plan? How do I protect them? How do I back them up, right? There's more considerations when you have this rapid growth that kind of VMware has brought to the table.
Yeah, and I think another angle here is that virtualized platforms, you could make the angle for really even storage virtualization, but the complexity and the growth, virtualized environments basically give you this museum that'll keep it running forever.
It just runs forever. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're not pressed off of obsolete platforms, right? But then, time, money, and people, how do those play into it?
Well, that really comes into DR planning, right? So we've talked about, we have these huge complex applications. They're always changing. We're always adding more VMs. We're always bringing new applications online. We're always doing new things. And it takes time to make those DR plans, right? It takes time for me to sit down and say, okay, here's my application XYZ. What is my RPO? What does my RTO need to be? And then how do I actually test all of these servers? How do I verify that these 30 servers in this application who all have different functions are running the way they should? That takes a lot of time to even figure out how to do that versus actually doing it. And what does time cost? Time costs money. We need people sitting there and figuring this out. We need people testing it. And then we need the resources to recover to. So it's really just kind of this trifecta of, hey, this is expensive from time, people, and money. And then what happens when there's an actual DR test, Rick?
Well, chances are it all fails and we'll try again next year. That's the way I grew up doing
Exactly.
it.
I like to tell this story. I used to have my clipboard all the time, right? And I had this clipboard and I had my DR plan printed out on it. And as long as I got a certain number of check marks, we were good to go. Granted, our application wasn't running at full capacity. It was like one server was online and we could kind of access it and it sort of worked, but we called that a successful test. And maybe we came back in 6 months or a year and maybe we did it again, right? That's not accurate. If we actually had to recover all of that in a DR scenario, it would have never worked at all.
Well, for me, it was a little bit different. If I got a certain number of checks, then I was able to go to the other room and get the free pizza, right?
Well, that's the thing too, right? The free food. Yeah. I mean, that's what the DR test was about. What are we ordering today during our DR test, right? And then it was got to get that Doom server up first, right? Make sure we could play Doom while people are doing their work and sitting there. So
is it a test or a LAN party? Come on, we got to focus.
It was kind of both, but you never actually tested your DR. And, there's been lots of disasters. I live on the East Coast, so we had Hurricane Sandy. I had customers that didn't actually have DR plans for that because they didn't think they needed them, right? So no DR plan whatsoever because nothing ever happens here. Oh, look, a hurricane came and you were out for a week. How did that kind of impact your business? What was the bottom line? They're lucky they stayed in business, basically.
So all of these challenges we've realized, and for those of you who have been following Veeam for a number of years, you know that we are continually releasing new products, and that's really the spirit of why Veeam Availability Orchestrator as a product was brought into market recently. We're currently on V3. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the VAO, as we like to call it, product, Melissa?
Yes, the orchestrator. So really, when we talk about orchestrator, we kind of put everything into the key 3 things you need to worry about in a disaster recovery scenario. First and foremost is recovery, because it's called disaster recovery. So we need to be able to reliably recover at scale, right? Those 50 VMs, those 30 applications, I need to be able to recover them reliably at scale, and I need to prove it works. I need to get into thinking of application and site level recovery versus I'm going to recover these 3 servers and I'm going to log into my console and do that, right? You can't have your poor backup and replication administrator restore 100, 300, 400 servers and expect them to actually survive it, right? Like that's not fair. It's not right. And how are you going to verify all that stuff? That's where this automated testing piece comes in. And we use Veeam Data Labs under the covers to completely non-disruptively test your DR plan, right? There's no more going to the data center for a weekend. It's a matter of, hey, here's a couple clicks, or I'm going to schedule my DR test to run every single Tuesday because there's no impact to my production environment. And then for the final piece, I'm going to get documentation that says, hey, my test was successful. Here's all the green check marks. Or better yet, here's the red X's that I have to go back and fix. That's important too. Besides getting getting documentation for our DR tests, we'll get fully documented DR plans automatically generated for us with a full audit trail. So if Rick went in there and removed a bunch of things, removed a bunch of servers, you would catch that and be able to fix it before you had a potential audit point. Or what's worse, you went to recover an application and everything wasn't there waiting for you. So that's really important too.
It is important, and probably the most transcending notion here, and I'm gonna see how I do here with my my liveries. Yeah, no, I can't do that, not on Fridays. But when the product first came out, it was for Veeam replicas. So think of a replicated virtual machine. Everything you just spoke about for replication. The version 2, Veeam backups. Well, that's very different because everyone's doing backup, and the thought is, I want to bring this orchestrated, this automated, this dynamic documentation, this SLA enforcing mechanism to backups and replicas. And then now storage snapshots, right? And that's where my drawing is not so good. So the thought here is you get all different types of tiers and SLAs and expectations that come with that. And I'm going to come back to that here in a second. But tell us about something that's relatively new on how this product is consumed in the market for our
Veeam. Absolutely. So when we look at all of the features we have now in version 3, like you said, protecting Veeam replicas, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? I want to probably, if I'm replicating a server, it's mildly important. I want to protect it. Then we get into Veeam backups and storage integration, though. And a lot of customers kind of said, wow, this is really great, but I'm having trouble figuring out what to protect in my environment, right? Like, do I protect everything? Do I protect just a little? So Veeam came back and said, you know what, we're going to make it really easy and really cost effective for you just to protect everything in your environment. Because like we said, you're backing up everything. So this kind of gives you the flexibility to back up everything in your environment, restore it. You've got Veeam replicas, storage snapshots, but what this gives you is that data labs testing piece. So when you test your DR plan, you can actually leave that environment running to do any kind of testing you want. So maybe you need to test that new 0-day patch that came out. Maybe you want to test an application upgrade. Maybe you just want to give the new person on the team the keys to the kingdom and let them try to break stuff. Sure, that's great. Leverage your data lab environment all through the VAO UI, all super easy to use, and kind of get more out of your DR resources, right? These resources aren't just for DR anymore. It's so easy to use the data labs bubble that you can spin up a copy anytime and really get more value and reuse your data here.
Yeah, and so this is a great segue, right? Just getting to that point of, okay, yes, this is a problem I need to solve in my organization. This is how we can consume it. So we're going to go ahead and go briefly to the map, and Melissa's going to get this demo prepared here real quick. And wow, some more people have checked in. Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, that's where I'm at here. So welcome. We also have Romania, India, France, Bulgaria, Kenya, Nigeria, Venezuela, South Africa, Brazil. Wow, really good. Thank you all for letting us know where you are from, and we are ready with the demo. We're switching on the fly here. Let's looks like we got it. So what are we looking at?
All right.
Okay, so yeah, on that, yeah, stand by. We're switching the feeds here. We're going to copy that. Live is live, Melissa.
Live is live.
Live is live. Yeah, and then we will get that sorted out here in just a minute. There it is. Okay. Okay, so.
All right, we're good now, right?
What are we looking at? Let's.
Okay, hold on. We've got to restart our screen sharing here. Yeah. Bear with us a moment, and we will try again.
Yeah. Okay, and waiting. Let's see.
All right, okay. We're good to go. Thank you, Rick. This is what you see when you log into Veeam Availability Orchestrator. And I really just want to point out 3 different things here. We're going to show how easy it is to run a data lab test that we talked about, right? Be able to reuse your data really simply. How simple it is to create the disaster recovery plans, which we call an orchestration plan. And then if we have enough time, I'm just going to show you the 3 or 4 quick things you need to configure to get Veeam Availability Orchestrator up and running. So let's go over to orchestration plans. And this is where you're going to spend a lot of your time. First things first, I want to run a data lab test. So I'm going to come over here to verify. I'm going to click Run Data Lab Test. I'm going to pick my data lab. I'm going to leave it running for a while because I want my app team to come in here and break stuff, because we're just going to throw this away when we're done with it. Who cares? Click Next. I'm going to add any supporting VMs that I need to run my environment. So this is kind of like your AD, DNS, any shared apps. I'm not going to add them right now because I want this to run really fast so I can show you. So I'm going to click Next. Click Summary, click Finish, and that's it. Now we're going to wait for our data lab and our virtual machines to start up in their isolated bubble so we can test things and take a look. But Rick, I want to show you how simple it is to actually create a new orchestration plan or DR plan in VAO.
Go for it.
So if we click New, let's give our plan name linked in live. And we're going to pick what type of plan that we're going to make. So like we said, we have replica plans, storage plans with NetApp ONTAP snapshots, and restore plans from Veeam backups. And we're going to use the same easy to use wizard for all of this. Now, if I change my options, you're going to see some very slight changes in things. So when we create a restore plan, we need to first create something called a recovery location. That's just a logical grouping of the resources that we're going to recover to, like our vSphere environment and our storage and important stuff like that. And then when I flip to storage plan, you'll see that goes away, because once we configure our NetApps inside of VAO, VAO knows where your snap mirror is going and is automatically going to send everything, automatically recover everything to the best location when you go do test or run or plan. Now, one other really interesting thing, let's go to a replica plan. And we have this over here, protect VM groups. And that's the ability to actually protect your data after a failover. So, Rick, what kind of plan do you want to create? What's your favorite flavor here today?
Oh, snap. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Will my snaps be replicated them all? How about that?
So you're going to go with the storage plan then?
I just made that up, by the way.
Okay, so we're going to go.
Totally did.
All right, so we're going to go mirror, mirror on the wall, storage plan, whatever. You will see something interesting though. That protect VM groups disappeared. So when you actually go to run your storage plan, you have the option to reverse resync your storage. So VAO will reverse that snap mirror and send your data back the other way if you wanted to protect it after a failover. So that's a really cool little tidbit too. Now VM groups, because we selected a storage plan, we can see all our NetApp data stores. So all I need to do is add a data store. I can also see what VMs are in that data store. But when we're talking about Veeam backups and Veeam replicas, the best way to do everything in your Veeam environment is always vSphere tags, right? Because you can create your backup and replication jobs based on vSphere tags. Then you can see those tags in VAO to group your applications and tell VAO what you want to recover. That's a really fun thing. And Rick knows how much I love my vSphere tags.
Indeed.
Indeed. Couple simple options for our plan here. One of the coolest things that we can do is recover each VM either simultaneously or in sequence. So if you have one of those applications that's very specific, we have to start it in this order. You would just select in sequence, and then when you edit your plan later, put everything in the right order. Really simple to do as well. Now, here is some of the magic of VAO. If you look here, we have all of these out-of-the-box enterprise application verification steps. So we can verify things like SQL, web servers, Exchange, all those things that everybody is using right out of the box. What's even cooler is that you can upload pretty much any PowerShell script you want to VAO to have it run for you. So for example, I know a lot of my customers, when they're doing DR stuff, they have just a bunch of random scripts that they're running manually, right? So they can upload them into VAO and actually have VAO run those scripts for them. So let's add a script here for fun. Now, something important to note is that when I create my plan, when I add any steps I add here, they're going to run on every VM in my plan. So I can go back and edit things later and say, okay, I'm going to give that web server these web server steps here. So that's a really cool thing to do. It's very, very customizable, very flexible, and very granular when it comes to setting up your VMs in your plan. Now, this is probably the most important thing for any DR plan, right? RTO and RPO. You're going to say what your RTO and RPO is when you create your plan right here. And then what's better is Orchestrator's actually going to test it for you. So we're going to test that RTO when we run those data lab tests. That is a real world test of your RTO and how long it takes you to recover. And then when we run our lightweight check, our readiness check, we're going to check your RPO every time we run it. So you can schedule that check to run daily. So we'll always be checking, your last replication job, your last backup job, your last snap mirror, and making sure that you're meeting your RPO. And if you're not, we're going to let you know so you can go in and fix it before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, Melissa, on this is so important because think about, as an IT pro, I've done this myself. You implement something on day 0, everything's great, and you come back in 38 days and you're 10% bigger, and okay, everything still fits. Come back in a year and a half, things have changed too much. But this is so important because if the business aligns to these types of RTOs and RPOs, we will every day check this, and the moment that proverbial VM that breaks the RPO's back, we've heard that, right? Or the straw that breaks the camel's back equivalent in the data center.
You're going to know because you're going to be scheduling your data lab tests to run every Tuesday. And when it exceeds the time threshold, you're going to say, okay, what do I need to do here, right? Do I need to change my DR resources? Do I need better storage? Do I need better hosts? Or do I really need to look at my application and say, is this more important? Is it, can we go a little lower on the RPO, a little lower on the RTO? So really, it kind of evolves along with your application. Now, we've talked a lot about documentation, and you can set up templates. These are great because you could put all of the information that's relevant to your organization in there, application diagram, the number of your pizza place, pretty much anything you want. And then you can schedule those reports to run daily. So we talked a little bit about the readiness check. It's going to make sure you're meeting your RPO, check your recovery resources, make sure they're in a good state. And then that plan definition your report. That's basically your DR plan right there, right? It's going to tell you all the steps taken on all of your VMs and what happens when what happens in your plan. And then it's going to show you the change log or the audit log. So again, when Rick logs in and changes something, I'm going to know and I'm going to be notified of that.
I usually break things just for the record.
Rick always breaks things. So we can run our readiness check after we create our plan. That's always a good thing to do. Click summary, click finish. And that's it. We've already created a disaster recovery plan. It's that simple.
Yeah. And, for those watching this and used other products, right, this is interacting with Veeam 1. It's interacting with Veeam Backup and Replication. It's interacting with the NetApp storage systems. And this is really going to help you do this on, scale, so that building these, DR plans doesn't have to be complicated. This product will work with the technologies that Veeam have to really hit those objectives that Melissa hit earlier. So great stuff, Melissa. I really like it.
Yeah. So speaking of not complicated and simple and flexible, I want to show you one more thing. If we come over to administration, here's what we need to configure to get VAO up and running. So we have these VAO agents, and Rick, it looks like that we need a lab upgrade here because things are acting a little slow for me right now.
Well, yeah, I need to tell you about what I was doing last night. Yeah.
But the really cool thing that we have is this context help, which I lovingly refer to as pop-up video. So as you're configuring VAO for the first time, you can see all these menus, and it basically walks you through the configuration. So what is the bare minimum I need to do to get up and running and create a plan like I just showed you? You need to come and install your VAO agents on all of the backup and replication servers in your environment. You can also do this during the initial deployment wizard. You connect up your vCenter servers, and if we click our little pop-up video here, it'll tell us all about vCenter server. If you're using NetApp, you just come and connect your NetApp SVMs, and again, we have this help menu right here. And then if you're going to be working with storage plans or restore plans, you need to create your recovery locations. And again, all the instructions and everything you need to go here. Once you configure those 4 items, you are ready to create a plan and see how you're doing. If you wanted to do that data labs testing piece, there's a couple more things to configure. You would need to come in here, first create your data lab and backup and replication, connect it up in here, and then you'd be ready to go. And then you can configure things like the reporting we talked about, right? Who am I going to email my reports to when they run, that kind of stuff. But really, VAO couldn't be simpler to get up and running. It couldn't be simpler to create a plan, and it couldn't be simpler to execute a plan or run a test.
No, hey, great job, Melissa. And, she mentioned it earlier, but we can actually go to Veeam.com. You can download a trial of Veeam Availability Orchestrator.
And here's the best part of it. When you install VAO, you also get backup and replication with it. And you also get that embedded Veeam 1 business view we use for some of the vSphere tags and categorization. So you've kind of got an all-in-one of Veeam to download and play with. So if you're like, well, I don't really want to mess with my production environment because this is new, go and install VAO. You get all those components, build a couple jobs on the embedded backup and replication server, and give it a try.
Awesome. And let's take one more look at the map. We've got more people that have come in. So really appreciate those of you who have dropped your locations. Germany, Belgium, Hungary, and Senegal are all new. Great stuff. So I'm going to transition back over to the PowerPoint here in a second, but I want to give a shout out to Monday because Jason Buffington and Sir Dave Russell are going to be giving their session with Jim Tedesco. He leads really one of our most kind of important groups, the renewals or existing customer base. Veeam's getting bigger and this huge catchment of customers. Jim's got some really good perspective of that kind of ongoing journey with Veeam. So check that out Monday, same time, noon, same place.
Same bad time, same bad channel, right?
LinkedIn. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the PowerPoint, and I want to kind of take what Melissa's visualized here. We got all this stuff, servers, storage.
There's lots of stuff. It looks really complicated, Rick.
It could be, but what I want to leave as a parting thought is when you think about the planning tiers and the technologies you have, you're going to have some stuff that's tier 1, and that might be a best combination of seeking RTO and RPO. Things like storage replication may help with that. CDP eventually from Veeam. We're going to put all this together, and then there's this notion of a second tier where you need maybe just base replication, and a third tier might be just backups off site, and then maybe this fourth tier of only backups, and some stuff may shift and get bigger. What I really want to visualize with you is just how you have this flexibility with Veeam technologies, both what we have and what we have coming. We're going to help you draw these tiers, implement them with those products, and it's going to be very easy for you to do. So there's a new thing on social that you're doing. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm doing DR Test Tuesday hashtag on Twitter. So every Tuesday I'm trying to post some kind of helpful hint or tip when it comes to testing your disaster recovery environment with Orchestrator. So definitely follow that hashtag on Twitter and join the conversation. Also, like we said, download a 30-day free trial. You have nothing to lose, all in one installation. You will be up and running in no time at all. Even if we went through that whole advanced configuration option, it really wouldn't take that long. The whole massive configuration from soup to nuts takes me 20 minutes. So really it's negligible.
And the last thing we'll highlight is something new, the new Veeam Legends and community site over at community.veeam.com. Check that out. Doing some gamification, some badgification, some content creation, some ideation. That is the situation. But we got a question here from Swetha. Swetha wants to, does the VAO trial need configuration of external storage to test DR through NetApp snapshots? Whoa, I don't know.
So when I showed you that configure screen in Orchestrator, there was a step for storage arrays. All you would need to do is add your source and destination NetApp devices right in there. And once you did that, VAO would understand all of your snap mirrors, so it would be ready to orchestrate the recovery of them. Couldn't be simpler. And then also you need to build a storage recovery location. So basically say, okay, I want to recover to these vSphere hosts or this vSphere cluster and this NetApp storage array. You put that all together and then you build your storage plan like I showed you.
Two other things I'd add to that. One, helpcenter.veeam.com has all the documentation you would need. I really, really love the effort that the product management team puts there. Two, that you called it pop-up videos. The contextual help can guide you through that as well, Swetha. So check it out. Bug us on Twitter. Really appreciate everyone joining us here today. It's been a great chat, and tune in again Monday for Jimmy T, Jason, and Dave to talk about the ongoing journey with Veeam. Thanks for joining me, Melissa.
Thanks for joining me, Rick. I always love doing our little LinkedIn Live shindigs together. They're always very interesting.
Have a great weekend, everyone, and that concludes today's stream. Cheers.